Yeah. We've got Hellblade EX. June has said, hi hi. I'm going to respond with a single hi. And, oh, She-Wolf78. Here we go. She-Wolf. Can I just say that She-Wolf78 is exactly the sort of on-screen name that you would expect to see on the internet back in the 90s? Like, that's exactly the sort of name that you'd come across. She-Wolf78. Okay. Couldn't actually think of a better example. Now, the situation here is that we are fighting Hellblade EX, that is assuming that I can get a loadout together before these people either depart without me, or leave in a huff, or kick me. And I don't know if I should go ranged, or grow a pair and use something that's going to put me in a little more harm's way than that. The thing is, Glavenus is a monster that I prefer to fight ranged anyway, so yeah, I'm not sure how I should approach this. Maybe I should just go for it and use a fucking greatsword. Good idea? No. Am I gonna do it? Hell yeah. Why not? Well, there's a few reasons why not. I feel like I've alluded to that. But the fact of the matter is that I feel like using a greatsword no matter what the case may be. What has this person said? So we go first? What? Does this make any sense to you? So wherefore, so we go first, with comeback 1 hour. Are you telling me that you're leaving now? You just... Okay, so I was getting ready for a quest that's not going to go ahead because you're going and you'll be back in an hour. Okay. My confusion was with the fact that I didn't imagine that the person who said got to go was the person who was still readied up, so, well, not readied up, but, you know, joined on a quest in the room, but turns out that was what was going on. I don't really care, I just want to find a room, please. I'm not picky at this stage, I am slightly picky, but largely not. Okay. What is Rosva doing? Rosva. Not with an F, but with a V. What is Rosva doing? Hopefully something marginally better than Solcia G5. Hello. My expectations are not high upon laying eyes on your set. That's, you know, not to be derogatory or in any way excessively dismissive, but, you know, I don't actually mind what this person has posted on the board, that's fine. Look, I was half expecting a Deviant or Atalkar or, well, I mean, God, what would they need to fight Atalkar for at this point? You'd hope they would be done with it by now. But anyway, I'm going to bring, well, I don't even know if it would be helpful to bring a poison weapon, but for some reason, I feel like bringing it. It's fairly irrational. I have no logical reason behind wanting to bring this weapon, but I'm going to bring it. The 2 decorations set in it, oh, what the hell, they are cancelling out my elemental crit. Well, that's abominable. So what's going on? Well, why? Oh, of course, it's not that it's cancelling out the skill. It's just that the skill cannot actually function with a status weapon, which is of no surprise to me. Although it may have appeared so at first, it's just that I do actually forget that I remade this Sword and Shield set to be an elemental loadout. Originally my Sword and Shield set was not that, but that's fine. That means that I'm limited to my status set if I would like to depart with this weapon, and do you know what? I'm going to do that. Because this set is actually designed to increase the damage of my weapon as much as it can, while simultaneously boosting the status effectiveness of it. So, the efficacy of the status aspect of the weapon. So, that's fine. Just needed to wrap my head around my own armor set for a moment there. This is actually some of the worst food freshness that I've ever seen? Is it because I haven't eaten with the chef in a while? His ingredients have become old and stale? I'd like fresh food, please. Unbelievable. Have you ever witnessed something like literally? Well, I suppose I could have done that. Let's just eat for thunder res. I'm going to tell you why. It's because this armor set has terrible thunder res. I can tell. Hopefully you can tell as well, just by looking at my character. Well, I'm happy to hear it, P-Barry. I would like to be streaming more frequently than I am, but I'm not. And I'm not going to sit here and give a detailed explanation as to why. Just know that if I could stream more often, I would. I hope that I don't have to depart with 2. Because, you know, Poison, Sword and Shield in Generations Ultimate is not something that's going to really tear this monster a new asshole. Which I would prefer to be doing if we were hunting with 2 people, but... yeah. I understand that Rosver is probably at his wit's end. We have reached the upper limit of what his patience can handle. And I fully accept that. I could also be wrong, but I'm more likely to be right than wrong. But it's actually in his interest to organize a good hunt. Organize a good group to hunt with, that is to say. So I will wait probably another, I don't know, 2 minutes. The reason why I don't want to wait longer is, well, I suppose there are 2 reasons. The first is that I don't want to keep Rosver waiting to the point where he just loses all hope. And second of all, I'm cognizant of the fact that this has been a long setup time. Not just for me in this room, but also from the beginning of this recording to departing on the first quest. It's been 13 minutes. It's longer than I generally like. Now that was closer to 1 minute. I'd say there's a 90% possibility that someone is going to join between the departure of the pair of us and the completion of the loading screen, and that, yeah, 90% chance, as I said. I mean, what am I to do? It may sound really strange, and I understand that this is not how statistics work, but no matter how long I would have waited, that exact same scenario would have played out. For some reason, these rooms are only attractive to people when we have already departed. I just don't know what it is. You could be sitting there forever. Either you wait for 2 minutes or you wait for 6. But the person always comes when you've departed. It's bizarre. I have no explanation for it, but I'm sure most of you have witnessed the same thing. I don't know what that is. It's actually off-putting because indeed, I feel like if I had just waited another 10 seconds, we would have been hunting with 3 instead of 2. And I'm not using a terribly effective loadout. It's fine, it's not super weak, but it's nothing to write home about, and it's not going to be carrying anyone. That's for sure. I'm just going to be hitting the monster and dealing some kind of damage. I've done a mount already, which makes me feel like I'm playing 4 Ultimate or something. It's certainly not based on what I'm hunting, because I realise that this monster is not in 4 Ultimate, but just the way I've been using this ledge so assiduously and consistently makes me feel like I'm some sort of a Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate player who's just discovered the pleasures of mounting. And, yeah, I don't always bother. I suppose the reason why I'm bothering this time is because I need to take every advantage I can take. Now, I do believe that I don't have any raw resistance, which is going to necessitate the effective guarding of every raw that I can possibly guard. Otherwise, my DPS is just going to suck. I mean, technically speaking, my DPS is not going to be all that better if I'm blocking the raws, it's actually not for DPS that I would block Roars. It's to lower the chances of being put in a compromising position. Now, to expand on that, having your character flinched by the Roar could possibly set you up for, you know, a chain attack from the monster. It's probably less likely with Astalos, but it's quite common with various other monsters. But you see, the guard not only puts me in a guarding stance, it furthermore pushes me away from the monster, because I need to be facing the direction of the monster to block the Roar, and so that can actually help as a defensive maneuver. So it's really not for DPS, because naturally if I'm stuck in that guarding animation and I'm being pushed away from the monster, it's not going to be easier for me to hit them. So, yeah. After making a, what I'd call a partial mistake, well, not just a complete mistake in what I had said, after having misspoken, I corrected what I was saying. Chaos Oil has already charged, which is good. Doing my best to contribute effectively as player 2. Ugh, one can only pray that the land compensation is hitting the monster. Look how much it's funny, the more you play a game... Well, let me rephrase that. Sometimes you can play a game... We'll be more specific. Sometimes you can play a Monster Hunter game, and it seems that it doesn't matter how long you play it, you will always see something a little new. For me, I just realized that the head axe expands and contracts repeatedly on the Astalos during the Roar. I didn't notice that until today. You know, I suppose it's also the case that sometimes you will see something, often many times, but not actually internalize what you're witnessing. You either take it at face value, you're distracted by other things, and so it's a low priority, it doesn't matter. But this time I've internalized what I've seen, and it's pretty cool. It sort of confirms my love of this monster, we could say. I don't think Rosver is likely to abandon the quest. The only reason why he would is if he were performing really badly, and I don't think he is. He seems to be on top of things here. This is a great sword dance opportunity, except for the fact that I'm at blue sharpness, but whatever, I've seen worse. Like I have said before, I do consider blue sharpness to be acceptable, just not ideal. What I deem to be unacceptable, of course, is green sharpness, and I do sharpen up immediately once I hit it. But in the interest of high DPS, I will, certainly under these circumstances, not sharpen up quite yet. There we go, managed to break the tail blade off there. I don't know if it's called the tail blade, that's how I'm going to describe it though. I'm keeping my guard raised for good reason. I don't know how many poisons I've gotten off. I've seen only one so far. That doesn't mean that only one has taken place. It's more likely to be 2, but it's not guaranteed. Alright. I'm going to heal up a little bit. Looks like we've got another poison in effect. That was a very good flinch. See, Rosver is doing work. He's not just someone that I'm having to carry. He is not a high hunter rank by Generation's ultimate standards, because you do rank up very fast in this game. Any hunter rank under 100 could definitely represent someone who is still new to the game and someone who doesn't know how to play, but Rosver could either be someone who learns pretty quickly, someone who is a good gamer in general, or perhaps someone who has played another Monster Hunter game. All of these things are possible, because so far he has not been a burden, he has been a good team player. And I do not regret the fact that we have 2 men in this quest. Now, if this were a hyper monster, that would suck. I wouldn't have even departed if it were a hyper monster, obviously. The tail is so forgiving once you're used to the hitboxes of 1st and 2nd gen monsters. If you're anywhere near a monster doing its tail swing in 1st and 2nd gen, that's it. Like, you have to be completely out of the range of it. Either you can't be within the arc of the tail swing when you're standing close to it, or you have to be so far away from the monster that you're nowhere near, like the tail cannot reach you. But here, you can actually be standing pretty much underneath the tail and it'll go over your head if you're in the right position, which is, to me, pretty funny, because it just feels wrong. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's fair. Makes more sense. Increase difficulty in other aspects and reduce it in the ones that, or in the aspects that make the game more realistic. But don't go too crazy, because then you'll be looking at a game like Monster Hunter World. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, don't combo me, is my request to you, Astalos. That looked very awkward. It looked like Astalos was partially landing on something as he was trying to come down there. It looks like, yes, he was indeed interrupted mid-combo there, or mid-attack animation, whatever you want to call it. I do have a sword dance, but that is not something to be used in the heat of combat. You need to use it when a very obvious opportunity comes up. Because obviously, worst case scenario is you use sword dance and you just get hit. But what's also quite annoying is if you use it and it just doesn't deal any damage. It's pointless, it's wasted damage. Better to not use it at all for maybe 5 minutes than to use it after having charged it up and not really done any damage with it. That's a waste, and yeah, not something that pleases me when it happens. So you do everything you can to avoid it. Now that last hit is the most important one to get off, from what I can tell. Obviously it's very important to get as many off as you can, but that last one, you're essentially rewarded with a very strong attack, I would imagine, based on what logically makes sense, if you can get the entire combo off, including that final slash. Not just get it off without getting hit, but also have it be on target. So, there you are. A good hunt with someone who can play perfectly fine. There is a mix of players in this community. There are people who, even as high as Hunter Rank 150, play like toddlers, and there are people who are obviously just coming into G rank who can play perfectly fine. It honestly depends on their experience with the series, and in some cases, whether or not they are competent video game players in general. Hey, Zombie Virus. Yeah, Astalos is a great monster. I understand the temptation to prefer other monsters. Not just the temptation, I suppose. Makes it sound as if it's not a genuine preference when I say that there's a temptation to. What I mean is that I suppose people might gravitate towards something a little more unusual. So Mizutsune is a little more unusual than Astalos. Glavenus is a little more unusual than Astalos, because if you think about it, Astalos is just a more interesting flying wyvern, and we've seen flying wyverns since the beginning of Monster Hunter, so, you know, how interesting can a flying wyvern possibly be? Well, to me, he's pretty cool. I like his design, I think he's attractive, he's got cool attacks, Bolt Reaver's even cooler, and yeah, he's awesome. He's genuinely my favourite of the Fated 4 monsters, with Mizutsune a close second, of course. Close second. Okay. Now, whether or not I continue hunting with Rosva will depend on what he posts next. That's not to dictate to him what he's going to post, because he doesn't know. He's got no idea what I've just said. Think of it as a roll of the dice. What's he going to post? Is he going to try and post the same thing because he really needs Astalos, and he should post it while he's got the opportunity of having a Hunter Rank 999 Hunter to assist him? Or is he not going to take that opportunity and instead post something different? As cold and heartless as it sounds, even with the understanding of why he would post Astalos twice, I'm not going to stick around for a second one. Because that's not interesting to me. Zombie, you are more than welcome to join, but I'm still not sure if I'm going to stay in this room, so it's over to you if you're going to take the time to join now. But, yeah. Essentially, it depends on what Rosver... It seems like or rather it sounds like I'm replacing the V with an F with my pronunciation sometimes, but... I do understand it's a V. Alright. What's it going to be, Rosver? I'm actually quite thirsty and I should drink a lot of water. I don't think I've had enough water today. Oh god, Hyperastalos. Well, I'm sorry, man. I don't want to abandon you so soon, but I don't want to do Astalos. I suppose he saw that even with the two of us, we dispatched it so quickly that we may as well do the Hyper, but, you know, I'm sorry, guy, but either you do a turns room, or you make it a specific objective. That way, no matter what, the people who are joining your room are going to want to hunt your monster. You know, if you say that it's Astalos and people are joining, they know what they're in for. And if you make it a turns room, everyone there is going to be willing to do your quest with the understanding that it will eventually be their turn to post as well. So, you know, do I want to do the same monster repeatedly? No, because that was not indicated in the hub name when I joined, at least as far as I can remember. Yeah, see, recruiting. He says recruiting, and yeah, no mention of Astalos anywhere, except for the fact that he had posted the first time, which was not enough to indicate that he was going to farm the thing. So yeah, I am officially not to blame for my rather unaccommodating behavior. This guy's doing EX, but has instead decided to post an event quest. I don't really get it, but power to him. It's quite pathetic, isn't it? That the guy is literally Hunter rank 200 and he's decided that he refuses to play with anyone who is of a lower Hunter rank than him. You know, sticking his nose up, barely able to look at you as he eyes you saying, I don't want to play with you, you filthy HR 1999, you peasant. In my opinion, it takes a certain lack of self-respect to do something like that. But anyway. Like, how shameless do you have to be? Alright. But yeah, I'm gonna have to start just downing water. Because I remember that. I was at work today and I realized, you know what, I haven't had much water to drink today. Much less than I normally would. And I got home and I had a little bit of water. But now I'm drinking port, which is obviously going to dehydrate me, so I need to make sure that I'm on top of that. That's important. Okay. Feel free to join the room if you'd like, Zombie. I'm going to... Oh god. It is our friend, Crimson Fatalis. What are you using? In fact, I can check from a distance. I don't need to do that. Wait, no. I'm not doing it. You're Hunter rank 365. And you've got defense up large. Seeking to hunt a Crimson Fatalis. Why? It doesn't make sense. Furthermore, he's using a greatsword. So he's got no focus and no ability to resist roars. No ability to effectively use his weapon against a Fatalis as far as I'm concerned. What's he got? Guild style. Guild style, which makes him even more dependent upon skills like focus and high grade earplugs. Has he made a mistake? I'm just going to ask him, what's with the skills? It's not with the expectation that he's going to give a legitimate explanation or even an apology. I think he's going to be like, oh shit, whoops, wrong set. Still in progress. What's with the skills, man? With some weapon types you can get away with that. But it's greatsword. That's, you know, the least acceptable weapon to have no specific armor skills with. Perhaps it's fine at low rank. He's Hunter rank 365. I don't really know what else to say. I'm going to get a good old drink of water. I'll be back in a moment and I'll let this guy respond if he wants to, if he even can. Zombie says that this set of uns makes him want to puke. Which is fair. Excuse me. Just downed a lot of water. My assumption for why he hasn't responded is because he doesn't speak English. There's no other explanation. But I'm not departing... I wouldn't depart with this person on any quest unless it were a quest that was going to work towards this guy getting a better loadout. Whether or not this Crimson Fatalis is going to contribute to that, I can't say for sure. But I'm going to guess that it's got nothing to do with improving his loadout. It's probably more like, oh, I'm going to get a better weapon. I'm going to get a new weapon, guys. In fact, what is his weapon? It's not even good by raw weapon standards. 310 raw on a greatsword is not bad. But like, let's take the Toyohisa sword for example. That's like, the Toyohisa sword has like the same raw damage as this guy's hunter rank. And he's sitting at 310. And he's got no armor skills. And he's got defense up large and has still only managed to get 861 defense. Which is the standard amount of defense that you would get with an armor set. Particularly at G rank level, which all of his pieces are. Just... And of course some of you are going to say, well, why are you so judgmental of his set? It's because he's played the game long enough to reach Hunter rank 365. Let's say, for example, that he's one of those people who has just done charm farming the whole time. Well, if he's just done charm farming the whole time and he's managed to get to Hunter rank 365 without having much experience in the game, you'd think he would have a focus on making a decent armor set, but he hasn't done that. He's got a +6 defense, +6 precision set with a greatsword, and he's only sitting on defense up large. I'm not departing with him. It's not happening. No, the defense will show up pre-quest, Peaberry, and the reason why is that it is a skill that will automatically, like it is always in effect, whereas some skills need to be in a quest. Like, let's take Bludgeoner for example. Bludgeoner will only take effect during a quest because that's added damage based on weapon sharpness, and weapon sharpness can only exist, it can only affect damage during the quest. So, alright. Well, sorry for taking... sorry that you took the trouble to join this room, Zombie, but I'm not departing with that person. It's unfortunate that he can't communicate. I doubt that he is unwilling to communicate. I just don't think he can. He just doesn't understand English. I'm assuming. So, yeah, but I'm sorry, that's shocking to me. Allowances can be made for someone who's in early G rank. I'm not going to sit here and absolutely grill someone in early G rank for having a set like that. But at Hunter rank 365. Appalling is what that is. Just absolutely appalling. Hellblade G4 with Pope. It's more acceptable to set an HR minimum of 200 when you're at Hunter rank 952, but to me, it does lock out too many people in the community. I think that's quite unfair, but I suppose I can join. If Zombie can make it in, then I will stay in this room. If he can't make it in, then I will not stay in this room. But yeah, defense up large will actually be reflected in the defense immediately. I can guarantee that. Popo UMD says, "Hello, let's do this. Hunt." The pause is because the exclamation mark came after "let's do this," and then he just had Hunt written afterwards. So he has effectively two demands in there. Let's do this and Hunt. Because let's do this, if you guys understand the language, the universal language of Generations Ultimate, let's do this isn't just a happy, rallying cry. It's, let's hunt right now. I'm sick of waiting. Let's hunt right now. And he said, on top of that, hunt. So, I don't know. I needn't be overly sensitive about these things, but I'm sick of reading things like that. Okay. So, is it ice or water that's better against this monster? I always forget, so I always must check. I'm sorry for this. Where is he? Hello? Where is it? I'm just gonna assume it's fucking water. What's the point of having a subspecies or deviant that has the same primary weakness as the one that it's based on? I don't get that. Make it ice or something. That's why I always question it. I think even though I know it's water, in my head I'm thinking, well, why? Why make it the same as the standard Glavenus? Anyway, let's go with, I don't know, Hunting Horn, something a bit different. Fortunately, because Zombie is here, I don't have to worry about someone departing without me. Because if I'm too slow... I mean, if I get kicked, then there's not much I can do about that. But as far as people departing without me, less likely with Zombie here. Come on. This guy must have a terrible connection to me. Or vice versa. Alright. So, Weakener is appropriate for me. Let's see if I can remember the goddamn songs. I don't need to. I can just fucking look at them here, of course. It's funny how my muscle memory just gave me the answer, whereas, in my head and also consciously, I'm just like, oh god, I don't remember these songs, and then literally my hands took me to the answer. That's quite funny. My mind is pretty much... it's a dual control system. It's like those garbage trucks where you can drive them on both sides of the road because they have two steering wheels. What a fucking shit analogy. But my point is that I am a dual control vehicle at the moment. We'll just put it that way. Did someone get insurance? That's an excellent question. My guess is no. I did not pay attention to that. Normally I do. I suppose I'm just too lazy these days. But yes, it is a single feint because it is as high as G4, and there's only one of them. The only other case where it's going to be a single monster in G-rank deviants is going to be if it's a capture quest. This is not a capture quest, so there you go. Sorry. Bad hair day. Well, not bad hair day. We'll just say hair distraction day. I just have no fear of Melinx anymore. Because, well, I wouldn't say that I had a fear of them when I started in 2nd gen, but 1st gen Melinks are terrifying. And I should say as well as that, Monster Hunter DOS Melinks, because Monster Hunter DOS has more in common with 1st gen than I ever thought possible, but yeah. Imagine that Monster Hunter DOS, for the most part, feels like 1st gen. So, I think it would be appropriate in many ways to include DOS in 1st gen when I say 1st gen. Obviously, some things are quite different in DOS, but I'd say there might be, 50% of it might be different, and then the other 50% is pretty much 1st gen, whereas Freedom Unite is just totally a different generation. But my point is that Melinks in 1st gen are miserable. They pursue you relentlessly. And on top of that, well, that's it. They're really fast, that's what it was, yeah. So they're relentless, and they pursue you very quickly. So we want, yeah, I know the order. Alright, let's get straight into the attacks. Should I be hitting the monster? Yeah. But I'm actually prioritizing not DPS, but rather the speed. Did I get the order of the notes wrong? Did I actually not double check to make sure that I got the notes right before attempting to play them? It appears that that's precisely what happened. The reason why was because I was distracted by the Uroktor attacking me. And I neglected to look at the staff. Stop it. You can clearly tell that I did not make a poor decision in rolling evasively when I do it. You can also see that I did not make a poor decision in all of these evasive maneuvers, because this monster has a lot of goddamn range. Alright, can you leave me alone and let me play my music now? For God's sake, man. Alright, now we've got our attack. Let's work on the defense. Lord knows we might need it. You keep the hell away from me. Look at the size of that explosion. Alright. Is it dangerous to be playing music here? Hell yeah. That was a very, very good flash bomb. I do not know if that was intentional, or if that was just dumb luck. I've seen it done intentionally, but I don't know if I'm in the presence of someone who has done that intentionally this time around. It's possible. If it were Popo UMD, maybe he takes the game quite seriously. He's a high enough hunter rank to be taking the game quite seriously. I am a higher hunter rank, but I would not characterize myself as... Well, I guess some would say that I take it seriously. Not in that sort of way. I take it seriously enough to grill people who are not doing the bare minimum. And I do that quite vocally, but, you know. So far, Popo UMD has taken some heavy hits. I'm guessing that's because he's playing very aggressively. That's how I'm going to make sense of that. What are you doing? I was referring to the monster when I said that, by the way. That is going to be a dive right there. And I thought I was about to go face first into some blast. Fortunately, I was. Well, actually, I don't know for certain that that is something that will give you blast blight. Maybe that's just a visual effect to say that this is an explosive attack. It's possible. Because that dust felt quite ethereal. It didn't look like it was really there. In other words, more of a visual effect than anything else. But yeah, it's possible that someone here has eaten for insurance. I don't know. I know that I didn't, and I know that 9 times out of 10, if I don't eat for insurance, no one will eat for insurance. Not sure why. It is the forgotten skill of the game. Excuse me. Well, strangely, it's not that it's the forgotten skill of the game, it's just for some reason for quests where there's only one feint, people just don't think to use insurance. It's like they don't realize how it works. It's not... The definition of the skill is not to give you 4 feints instead of 3. The definition is to make it so that one feint is rendered null and void when it takes place. Because, yeah, it's a free feint. That's what it is, so it works irrespective of the number of feints that you've got for the quest. You gotta read the fine print. I'm going to assume there aren't any lawyers in this quest. It's all about the wording. I actually don't know what the written description of the skill is. I'm actually telling you what it does, okay? I don't know what the description is. I don't know what he's doing, Mr. Glavenus. I just know that he's being annoying. I would not seek to describe it in greater detail than this monster is being a dick, or this monster is being annoying. Although I suppose I could make some comment about how athletic he is. Maybe that would be appropriate. Can I get a hit in on the hair? Yes. I think attack up is in order. In short order. Oh god. Thought that maybe was going to hit me there. Let's make sure that I'm somewhere safe to play this song. If I had played it in that moment, that would not have been a safe place. Although, if I had not waited to find out... I should have waited to find out this time as well, but I'm going for it. That's why we eat for high grade... Well, not eat for, but rather jam in high grade earplugs when using a hunting horn. Because sometimes you don't know when you're going to be interrupted during a song. And it's fucking annoying when that happens because of a roar. So bring high grade earplugs. Not every horn is going to have roar resistance, and quite frankly, you shouldn't be prioritizing roar resistance on a hunting horn over either attack up or, you know, elemental attack up or no stamina loss. Like, in my opinion, high grade earplugs is a very low grade skill on a hunting horn. That's my opinion. That is a limping Glavenus. This is a good team, I like it. It's G4. Now, if it were G5, that would be quite impressive, but G4's not as impressive, but still good. It's a good team. It's a... we're working together, effectively. Which I'm happy to see. Oh, thanks for hitting me right in the worst moment. I'm trying to position myself so as not to be, you know, in the firing line. I'd reckon that was my final hit. It was either me or Popo, because Popo looked like he was attacking there as well, but I'm going to take credit for the final hit. It was me. I suppose we'll find out. The way that you find out is by looking to see what your final frame was as the hunter on the end screen. In my case, if it shows that I'm getting a KO hit off, it means it was me. It was me. In fact, I'm going to go to the next level and say it was all me. I shall take full responsibility for today's success. Or I suppose we could say full credit for. Obviously I don't mean that. Bottoms up, everyone. Water's good for you, never forget. Yeah, Doomlink mining. What's going on? Is he sick? Is he unwell? Check his temperature. I don't know why I was doing that. It looks like I just missed getting the final hit. I don't think that's me getting the blood spatter there on the face. That's precisely where I hit the monster, but I feel like if it was me, it would show... No, maybe it doesn't show the KO hit here. Yeah, maybe the ending screen doesn't show the KO hit. I'd reckon that's me, because that is where I hit the monster, but the reason why I was second guessing whether or not it was my hit was because there was no KO effect there, but I'm going to assume that in this game it doesn't actually show up in that final screen, so... Yep, it was me. It was me. I don't want to hear any opinions to the contrary of that. You can quite frankly keep it to yourself. Alright. Popo UMD says, "Thanks, my sweet." Which is making me blush fiercely. Alright. Player 2. It is Kiwi's turn to post. We shall find out. What I'm confused by is whom Popo UMD was referring to when singularly thanking their suite. Thank you, my suite. The only way for that to work is if Popo sent that 3 times in the chat, because there are 3 people in this room who just assisted Popo with their quest. So, you know, to thank one suite is just, quite frankly, confusing and unsatisfactory, because I deserved thanks, and I just have a feeling that I'm not their suite. Anyway. Come on, Kiwi. Do you know it's your turn? Where is Kiwi? Doing something in the prep area, it seems. Goodness. Well, the mystery continues. What is going to be posted next? It could literally be anything. Here we go. Oh, I've not seen the Rising Soul equipped in a little while. That's the original Japanese design of the Rising Soul. Of course, in the... what's it called here? Dengeki. That's what it was. So, in the Japanese version it was Dengeki. There was a whole series of weapons. They were that coloration. But in the Western releases, they were sort of a cyan... yeah, cyan and light blue sort of color. Like, similar to my name. So... fucking hell. 2 Hyper Nacilla in the arena at the same time? What's wrong with this guy? Why would anyone want to do that quest? I'm sorry, I've done it before and it's shit. It sucks. Ugh. Double fucking Hyper Nacilla simultaneously. I'd rather, you know, insert a razor blade inside my scrotum and, you know, shake it around a bit. To be completely honest with you. But that's what's been put on the board. I'm sorry, P-Berry. Oh, sorry, that was too visual, wasn't it? It's what happens when you hang on my every word. Sometimes you get a nasty surprise. Alright. Now, what would make this a... okay, I know what would make this bearable. Evade Extender Heavy Pierce, that would make that bearable and even partially enjoyable. Partially. So we'll give that a try. What's the... here we go, Gunner's Pouch. God, it's nice to actually have a separate inventory for ammunition. Who would have fucking thought? Now... I don't have any Pierce level 3 in my inventory. Fine. I'm going to replace normal level 3 with normal level 2. And because I did that replacement from the box, it put the other stuff in my box rather than discarding it, which is fairly obvious, but it's been a while since I've exchanged from the box, so I didn't really... I wasn't immediately expecting that result. It obviously makes sense, and I'm not questioning it, but I didn't expect it. The weakness of this monster, I think, is... it could be fire. I don't know. God, how bad is my connection to the host? Look at this. You can see there's no prompt to sit at the table. It's because I'm still in the process of trying to sit at it. It's thunder, okay. I don't remember. I had totally forgotten as well. Fire might be a secondary weakness. I knew it wasn't the primary, but... yeah. What am I bringing? Sure, Defender High. Lord knows I'll need it. Let's make sure we... yeah, that's what we need to purchase. Pierce at level 3, I do not particularly need. Combination materials, I should be quite alright without them. Oh, okay. I don't know why I have pellet level 1. I have absolutely no explanation for you as to why I have pellet level 1 in my inventory, nor why there's only 10 of them, as if I fucking depleted pellet ammunition while playing. Like, I don't have a pellet set. I've never had a pellet set in this game. Doomlink's dirty secrets? No, I've never had one. I haven't had a reason to have one. Unless I used pellet with my Berg Basher. I don't know if any of you remember my Berg Basher set. I had to remove that set for my Joke Weapon Roulette set. So that's how old it is. Whenever I started Joke Weapon Roulette, which I think was in 2020 or 2021. Either of those 2 years, maybe late 2020, early 2021. That was the last time my Berg Basher set featured. So maybe back then I was using a little bit of pellet, but I didn't use that set very often. I made that set mostly because I found it funny that there was a bowgun called Berg Basher. That's B-E-R-G Basher. Berg Basher. Made me think of burgers. Like a birthday bash at McDonald's. That's what I was visualizing when saying Berg Basher. Furthermore, we could say, you know, beating someone over the head with a large burger of some description. A Whopper. But yeah. It was funny, and so I made that set. And it was such an over-the-top bowgun as well. It was so big that I just had to make it. It's the Duramboros heavy bowgun. And, of course, I complemented it with the full Duramboros gunner set, which also was very oversized. So it was funny, okay? And I think I may have used pellet with that, but as for why, again, this is where the conversation originated. As for why there is 10 pellet shots in my inventory, or rather was, no idea. Maybe I picked them up in the box accidentally. That's possible. That would account for the 10. So I've paintballed the one that I want to focus on. I think it's important to focus on one particular Nursilla. If the reason isn't obvious enough, it's because the longer we fight two of them simultaneously, the harder it's going to be. So we want to actually focus our efforts on one. Because I can assure you, there is no scenario where if you split up into two groups, the two people fighting the other one are going to somehow distract that Nursilla. It's not how it works. It's never worked like that. Monster aggro is not that dynamic. Maybe it is here in 4th gen. It's possible, but it's a 4th gen thing. If it's true, it's a 4th gen thing that I never noticed. So please, if I'm wrong, correct me. But as far as I'm aware, monster aggro is not dynamic enough for that to be a factor. I understand why it would make sense, but I feel like that would be some pretty complicated monster behavior to program in. So, or rather, too complicated for Capcom to bother with, is what I would say about that. Alright. You can see I'm doing a whole lot of evading, not just defensively, but also to remain within critical distance of the Nursilla that I'm fighting. And all I can say is, thank God for Evade Extender. Its usefulness is not to be underestimated. Oh God, why is my accuracy so bad? Questions that need to be asked. Because if I don't ask them, someone else will. It's good to be self-aware. Okay. You can hit me with that, just don't follow it up with anything that hurts. If you wouldn't mind. Alright, so I think you're the one. You are not the one. The one up there is the one I need to be hitting. That's great, but Actually, it is now visually obvious which one has been attacked the most, because a few things are broken on it. I don't know if I'm actually able to pierce the canopy there with my pierce shots. You think just based on what like the sentence that I just spoke, you would think that these shots... What's going on? Guys, wrong fucking Nursilla. See, now if you get a big gloopy blob of fucking level 2 poison on your face because you're too busy fighting the wrong one, now that's your fault, not mine. I mean, someone will say, gotta take advantage of the paralysis, right? Well, why was the guy with paralysis hitting the damn thing? Oh, it was zombie. Well, not to call you out, but what are you doing? Perhaps he did it because the monster was out of reach, so better to be efficient, which I can accept. And again, well, okay, fine. I just don't want to confuse the team, because I feel like if we change targets, maybe the team is going to think, oh, we're going to focus on this one instead. I just want to ensure that we don't lose sight of the priority here. So because the old one can be hit, we're going to aim for that one, hopefully. Yeah, see, precisely as I suspected, the team has now lost sight of what the objective is. It's really that simple. I mean, you would think that tactical and detailed strategizing would result in, you know, the ability to shift back and forth between targets that you can hit. But no, these guys, because we started attacking the other one, they've just fucking, they don't even know anymore. They're just like, I see a spider, I'm gonna hit it. That's what happens when you start to introduce slightly more complicated strategy. Anyway. That other Nursilla is not looking great. I do have a supernova and I'd love to fucking get it off while I can hit both of them. Can I do it? Can I do it? That's fine. I'm about to get hit out of it. Maybe? I don't actually know if that made contact with any of them. I'm going to assume not. It's certainly not the one that was further away, but... never know, it may have nicked the other one. I was just so greedy to take advantage of the opportunity that I could see. It was sort of a ghost of an opportunity. I was too late, but... you know, if I had used Supernova instead of using Gunpowder in Fusion when I did, that would have been the golden moment, and I would have hit both of them, and I would have been the hero of the hour. But, yeah. Oh, no. Keep that poison away from me. That is one Nursilla dead. I don't know if you guys have found this fight to be fun. The only reason why I found it to be fun is because I can tolerate it with this loadout. I have to say though, I've just gotten through 120 shots, and one of them's still alive, so... yeah, I don't know if... I don't think I'd be able to mentally compute if I were using any other loadout. Especially one that couldn't hit the spider while I was on the bloody canopy. And I don't mean like on top of it, I mean hanging from the bottom of it. Alright, well... that tells me that we did a pretty poor job of focusing on one Nursilla, based on how quickly that second one died. But, whatever. Having them both be alive simultaneously was not as dramatically difficult as I was making it out to be. It is very likely that Popo is using Valor Heavy Bowgun, and I will tell you why. Even though I have not seen Popo using his gun, the vast majority of people who use Heavy Bowgun in this game use Valor, and I will tell you why. It's because Heavy Bowgun used to be something that only certain people would bother using. Because it is so low mobility, it was just deemed too slow for most people to bother with. It was uncomfortable for them to use. And so people who used heavy bowgun were people who forced themselves to get used to the idea that you couldn't really sheath and dive with it. If you had the inclination to acquire quick sheath at the expense of damage skills with your set, maybe you could use it in that way. But for the most part, you had to evade. Now, the way I reconciled that was through using evade extender. You know, to me, that's an appropriate skill to use because it increases your DPS so much. You're spending so much less time evading than you otherwise would be. It's actually really worthwhile to run and gun with evade extender heavy bowgun, and it's fun and, quite frankly, mobile enough. But some people don't get that far. They just see the heavy bowgun and they're like, ugh, too slow. And so they don't even bother. Whereas in this game, the slowness of it... sorry, skip. I was saying slow, so I typed slow. Skip, please. He can wonder what the hell I meant when I said slow. He might think that I was referring to the last hunt as a slow hunt, which is certainly not what I meant. But yeah, there is no slowness factor here. You can just fucking run with your heavy bowgun. So that's why you will find so many people using Valor heavy bowgun here. Or I'll rephrase that. That's actually true as well. But it is rather unlikely that someone using a heavy bowgun in this game is not using Valor. So, there you go. No, don't apologize, it's fine. I guess you lost sight of the monster too, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it wasn't that difficult to fight both of them simultaneously anyway. Problem at the pinnacle. This thing's going to get absolutely slaughtered. Are you sure you don't want to post the hyper version, zombie? It's over to you. But it's going to die in like 3 minutes. I could bring a joke load out. Okay. He's going to post the hyper, which I think would be the better choice. Alright. Now, what would be fun? Yeah, let's use a longsword. I haven't used a longsword in a little while. What's he weak to again? I think fire. Am I correct about that? Here I go. No, I'm not going to check that. He's weak to fire. Shut up, Doomlink. Don't second guess yourself. Be confident. Let's use the Molten Vulgar. I never use this damn thing. Never use it. And I'll tell you why. It's because I only recently made it. Oh no, Kiwi left the hub. Well. I suppose that's not much of an issue. I know what it is. He posted his quest, and now he's moving on, which is whatever. Power to him. So the good thing about this weapon is that it's pretty decent raw, and lots of purple sharpness with sharpness +1. I would, excuse me, sharpness +2 in this case. Bad habit. But the effectiveness of this weapon without sharpness skills, in my opinion, is minimal. I would not recommend this weapon unless you're willing to put the sharpness skills on it. To give it this big, thick amount of purple on it. Crazy has entered the room. Oh my god, he's so crazy with his light bowgun. What's he gonna do next? That crazy guy with the parry off light bowgun. I've never seen someone use that in this game. Tabula Blizzara. What's he gonna do? Use rapid fire freeze on a Gormagala. I mean, I will give him this. He's got a unique loadout. He strikes me as someone who's played old Monster. Because, you know, it's something I haven't seen before. People with unique ideas are usually the ones who have played many games before and would rather use what's fun than what's, you know, of maximum effect. Yeah, I didn't see what you were saying, Zombie, so... Did you find it in the end, or...? Oh, you didn't, you couldn't find it. It's possible that you haven't unlocked it, if you couldn't see it in the list. It's fine, I don't really mind. It'll be a quick hunt, but I'm not offended by the fact that it's going to be a quick hunt. This is... I don't know if I'm... Yeah, this is the size of a Shaguru Magala, and it's a standard Magala. This is really big. In fact, I'd say even by Shaguru standards, this is a decent size. This is a Gold Crown Large. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this looks like a fucking big one. Look at... He's huge! This has to be a Gold Crown Large. He is exceptionally gigantic. Anyway, I mean, just look at him. He's a titan. Anyway. I knew I'd miss it. Oh, the pleasures of swinging your longsword with your fingers crossed, hoping that you're going to get that final spirit slash. Nope. Let's go for the... Oh, I was going to go for the face until that happened. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I don't really need anything from this. I don't know if Zombie needs anything from this. I hope you don't need feelers, because you're not going to get them. Not with the thing being paralyzed in the wall. Come on, get my Spirit Slash on target, thank you. I'm thanking myself at this stage for playing correctly, which is lovely. Or you could say that I'm thanking luck, which is, you know, acceptable. That was a good knockdown, I quite liked that. You're just doing quests. Alright. Do you mean completing quests, or doing random quests for fun? Well, because you said yeah, I'm going to assume you mean the first point. I'd say that I was about correct. 3 minutes of engaging the monster. You know, from the moment we began engaging to the moment it started limping, I'd say that was about 3 minutes. Now we just need to chase it and immediately kill it. Not the most substantial hunt, but I won't say I didn't predict it. I knew what we were in for. If we needed to reaffirm the effectiveness of a full G-rank team, this would be the quest to do it. And now that we have reaffirmed that point, I suppose we can move on to slightly more difficult hunts after this. That crazy guy with the light bow gun probably helped with his freezing rapid fire. He's so crazy, not even using something elementally appropriate. I don't actually know what he was doing with his gun. I've got no earthly idea. He could have been shooting anything. He could have been shooting cluster shot and, I don't know, dazzling shot. I still don't know what dazzling does, by the way. I think it's an impact shot. I think. That's if my complete guess is correct. I think someone said it was an impact shot. Dazzling has always confused me. Ever since So I remember using the shooting star heavy bowgun quite actively in Generations while I was playing it for the first time. The shooting star heavy bowgun, which I think was a relic bowgun, or one that I acquired by appraising a relic. Probably an ancient shard. Or a rushed shard, it's possible. Yeah, I was using that while, you know, going through the low rank and high rank of Monster Hunter Generations when it came out. And I remember it had, for its internal ammo, dazzling shot. And I could never make heads or tails of it. I think it does increased damage on impact zones, but it doesn't actually produce KO. I think I'm right about that. Vague memory of someone else's description of it many, many years ago when I asked. So, yeah. I think that's correct. Don't hold me to it, though. I'm probably going to do maybe one more hunt. It's going to be less than 2 hours. But the reason why is because I remembered that I have to make a call that I have not made yet. And it's better that I do that sooner rather than later. So I will have to cut this live stream short. But that's alright. I'm sure you can forgive me for it, probably. Maybe you'll hold a grudge and never look at me in the same way ever again. In which case I'm sorry, but yeah. We'll see how we go. I would say one more hunt. It's going to be about an hour and a half of live streaming. But yeah, less than I would prefer, but that's what you get today. Hellblade G5. Oh my god, this is what you fucking put on the board, mate. Hellblade G5. What a crescendo. Especially after we've already fought Hellblade in this recording. In fact, I think it was you who posted it, Mr. Popo UMD. I can't remember what that stands for anyway. Anymore, sorry. Something mini disc, I believe. Ultimate mini disc. What are the chances that it stands for ultimate? Like, what do you think the chances are? Because it wouldn't mean universal mini disc, because it's not fucking universal at all. Mini disc. No idea. Would someone be kind enough to Google that for me? I'm interested. I'm going to use a gun lance. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I don't know. When was the last time I used a water gun lance? Isn't this... What is my water gun lance in this game? I don't even remember. Well, this fucking thing. It's actually... It may not look great because it's Ketchawasha, but it's effective. Like, the... It's shot level... Whatever the fuck... Hello? Shot level 4. Decent sharpness. Decent raw. Passable element. It's fine. Like, it's a... You know, I've seen worse, is what I would say, so... Yeah. Universe. It is called the Universal Minidisc. What? Again, Universal, like after I made the joke of saying Ultimate Minidisc, Universal was my next guess, but it made no sense, so I assumed it wasn't that. Universal? Maybe that's a hint of what they were going for. They wanted it to be the Universal Minidisc, but obviously it never took off. Like, it was designed by Sony, so that would explain why they were so ambitious about it. Universal Minidisc, I mean... Yeah. Little... I suppose it could have been Universal if they had come up with it 10 years earlier. Because, I don't know. I have a feeling that they may have come up with it long before the PSP, but... Because if you think about it, the compact disc was early to mid-80s as far as when it was actually invented. As far as when it was first really used, I'd say mid-80s, like 86. So the mini-disc could very well be early 90s, but it was certainly not universal. It was not widely used. Perhaps it was more widely used in Japan, that's possible, but certainly not in the West, or internationally beyond Japan, so yeah. Look at that little hop he does. That is such a nasty little hop, because he covers a lot of ground with that fucking hop, and I don't like it at all. Oh my god, he's gonna flinch me. Well, again, the Vita was already coming around when CD technology was becoming obsolete, mini or otherwise. Particularly mini because it hadn't taken off, so, you know, it wouldn't have made any sense for the Vita to come with a mini-disc slot. So, yeah. I don't think that would have been on the cards at all. Popo UMD has this nasty habit of taking the heaviest hits of a Glavenus. Now, when I say that, I am referring to the attacks that Glavenus has the longest build-up time before performing, which means that they are the heaviest attacks. Now, what that means is that Popo UMD has this nasty habit of not actually paying attention to the movements of the monster before making his attacks. Now, quite frankly, that's lazy, and it is going to get you killed if you're fighting G5. Hopefully he has now realised that. And to move on to another subject relating to my own play, I do regret choosing a gun lance because I'm going to spend much of this hunt chasing this fucking monster. And quite frankly, my DPS is low, which is bad news when we need to be dealing as much damage to this first Glavenus in as short a time as possible, because there is a timer on the spawning of the second one. Not the third one, but just the second one, and the sooner we can kill this fucking first one, the better. It may be something of a public service if I would... Oh, for God's sake. Oh no, we are able to hit the head there. It may be something of a public service to actually go ahead and paintball the Hellblade just to make it abundantly clear that that's the one we want to hit first when we are dealing with the two monsters at the same time. Oh, someone has the presence of mind to drop smoke bombs. I hope whoever's doing that is going to be consistent with it. I don't know who's done it. I just hope that whoever is doing it will be able to commit to it, because I am going to go all in and be as aggressive as I can be with this monster. I am trying to get up my heat gauge here. I'm not able to do that very effectively, but I'm trying. Blast Dash will assist in that if I can fucking... Why do I press the buttons to do the attack and then my hunter is just like, no, you may think you pressed the correct buttons, but I'm afraid to say, Doomlink, that it simply wasn't good enough. Your desire to press the buttons was insufficient. You should have maybe, I don't know, factored in the poor input detection of doing that. Maybe it's to prevent accidental activation. Maybe that's why it has noticeably bad input detection, because I remember very early on when I started playing this game, I was asking around, I was saying, is it just me that has this bad input detection with Hunter Arts? And it's definitely not just me. A lot of other people were reporting the same thing, and I'd imagine people still are. So what that tells me is that it's intentional, and the only way that I can make sense of it is to say that maybe it prevents unintentional button presses, which may have been a concern for the developers in making it, a button combo when you're likely mashing buttons already, enough as it is, and it's just another way of preventing a mistake by the player, which is fair. Oh, for God's sake, I thought I had managed to move around that shit. Do not want to be stuck behind a shield right now. Yeah, well, D-pad direction is not an option for me, because depending on what I'm using, I will be... Of course, I know of the D-pad direction, and the reason why is because that's actually the default setting. I had to change it from that to what I'm using now. The reason why D-pad directions is not an option, and that I'm glad that they didn't force me to do that, is because I often use the D-pad to change the position of the camera. Like, I do that all the time. It depends on what I'm doing with my hands, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary for me to actually have that ability to use the D-pad to change the camera direction, because it's something that I've done for the entire time that I've played Monster Hunter. From Freedom Unite to this game, and also now including first gen since I started playing it some years ago, every single Monster Hunter game that I've played has had that functionality on the controller. So to not be able to do that anymore would be horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Do I absolutely have to do it? In some cases, yes. But in many cases, no. But to lose the functionality would be terrible, if you know what I mean. And I do thank Capcom for giving me the option. But that's something that I have to thank Capcom for quite a lot in this game. It's the fact that they gave players the option. Not just in terms of what button combinations to use for Hunter Arts, but whether or not you even use styles at all. And I have a lot of respect for Capcom when it came to that. The sad thing is that it turns out that giving the player the option to actually opt out of the new dynamic way of playing Mod Standard was actually more likely because they were... It was actually an expression of lack of confidence in the new idea. It was more that than them wanting to be accommodating to old hunters. That's the sad thing about it. And the reason why I say that, I understand that it might be cynical to say that, but I feel like I know Capcom a little better now since the release of World and Rise, especially Rise. And, you know, I don't think Capcom have the self-respect to, with the best of intentions, give older players the option. I think they do it through gritted teeth. They're like, they're gonna fucking complain if we don't give them the chance to... You know, that's the sentiment. That's why they do it. Because I'll tell you what, once they got even so much as an inkling that people were okay with new ways of playing the game, oh, you better believe it. Guys, we're going to make Clutch Claw and we're going to design the entire fucking game around it and you're going to eat it up for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Welcome to Monster Hunter. And that's what happens when you give those people an inch. That's what happens. But who gave them positive feedback about that? Like, who was sitting there saying, oh, you know what, Capcom, thanks so much for including guild style in Generations and Generations Ultimate, because, you know, it really made a difference for me to have that option of playing traditionally. That's how I felt, but I never gave them direct feedback on that. So, you know, how do they know? How do they know that they've made the right decision? You know, oftentimes the feedback is just negative. And then if people don't say anything about the positive stuff, they may not know that they've done the right thing. They'll know what they did wrong, but they might not know what they did right. And so they need to actually ask these questions, and ask them to the right people. Are they able to do that? I don't know. I've got no idea, but what I can tell you is that it's actually kind of hard to develop a game right if you just focus on things that people say are not good, because, you know, that means that you can actually not quite pinpoint what was right, and that's an example. You know, I would like to have the opportunity to not... I mean, I haven't experienced it, I don't know anything about Clutch Claw, and I don't care about it, because I don't play Iceborne, and never have, and never will. But it is relevant to the evolution of the series, or in my opinion, the devolution of the series, because, you know, the entire game was based around it. You didn't have a choice. You had to use it, and if you didn't, you just put yourself at a needless disadvantage. And quite frankly, if you were playing online, there was no one who was going to opt out of that anyway, because it would be senseless to do so. It's just not how it was designed. So that's the situation, and in my opinion, that's a step backwards when you design the game around your gimmick. Like, actually make it so that there's no scope for a different style of play. I've pretty much used guild style almost exclusively since I started playing Generations, and that was in 2015, okay? So, I can tell you with complete confidence that when you use guild style in this game, you are not at any severe disadvantage. You're not even at a slight disadvantage. You can still hunt perfectly effectively with guild style. Now, if you completely avoided using Hunter Arts, perhaps at that point you would be at a disadvantage. But just using guild style? No, absolutely not. And you know what? That's a great thing. That you can actually... I mean, that may mean that I am therefore in favour of the gimmick of Hunter Arts, and so I'm not affected by the fact that I can't use it. Or rather, because I'm not in a position where I don't want to use it, I'm not seeing the negative effects of not using it. But, to me, there is a complete difference between changing the entire way that you play versus doing a special move every now and again. And to expand on that, I don't agree with Hunter Arts that actually change how you play. For example, the unsheathing one, what's it called again? The longsword move that turns your spirit gauge into one that does not deplete. I don't agree with that. I also don't agree with the insect glaive one, where you can get all 3 colours with a single attack. I don't agree with that. I use it because it exists, and I feel like it would be a shame not to use it. Once I've seen it, and once I know it exists, I can't, resist the temptation, because it's so much easier, And it doesn't quite ruin my experience with the weapons enough to completely trivialise it and make me angry, but, would I rather it not be in the game? Yes. Those sort of hunter arts, in my opinion, debase the weapons that they're designed for, and the weapons that they completely change when activated. So, yeah. Hunter arts, I'm not completely in favour of them. The concept of it is fine, because just doing a special move every now and again doesn't completely change how I hunt. Now, I don't begrudge people or prevent people from having the option of, flying around with aerial style or shaking a fucking barrel with alchemy style. Do it if you want. Like, I don't care. Maybe I've had a few choice words to say about people who hunt as cats, but that's a separate subject. Let's just focus on the styles. I don't mind people using those. Now, Valor I don't agree with because of how it was used in conjunction with longsword and heavy bowgun, because though that style trivialized those weapon types, but the raw idea of using styles and the raw idea of hunter arts existing, both of those things are fine. It's just that they can be misused or implemented in an imbalanced fashion. And in both cases that did happen, but not universally, only in certain cases. So generally speaking, as long as I have the option to not engage with that shit, I'm happy. It's when Capcom goes in the direction of just forcing it down your throat, like cramming it down your fucking throat and saying, this is the new way to play Monster, we're going to force you into our gimmick and that's it. And some people may say, okay, well you were forced into the gimmick of mounting because in 4 Ultimate you were stupid not to mount. Fair, but it didn't literally, in my opinion, change how you play it. It added a dynamic to the hunt. But maybe people can argue that mounting is similar to Clutch Claw, but I can't really have that discussion because I don't know the intricacies of Clutch Claw. All I know is that monsters actually changed how they interacted with the hunter based on the existence of it, and I can say that because Base World was updated for Clutch Claw, and so, even if you didn't have Iceborne, or you elected not to upgrade to Iceborne because you didn't like the fucking Clutch Claw, well, tough shit. If you had the latest update of the base game, the monsters would actually still, give you that weird Clutch Claw opportunity. I don't even understand what it is completely. But yeah, like, that to me is not okay. I don't like that at all. But, no. Oh shit. I just think that you start to go too far when you've got mounting and Clutch Claw and all the other things involved. Sometimes, and people don't like to hear this, but less is more. Sometimes less is more. Seriously, like at some point, you've put too much in the fucking soup, and it's just not, it's not good anymore. You've made it too complex, and then you've taken away from good traditional things that made the soup special. Good food, good simple food done right, is better than super fucking complex, disingenuous food. So to make the food analogy and apply that to Monster Hunter, that's what Capcom's done. They've gone way too far. And that's my position. Doesn't mean they have to never change, of course not. But they have no sense of what changing Monster Hunter while keeping it traditional means. They don't know what that is. They can't wrap their head around it. I suppose to them it's not enough change. But, I wouldn't have even disliked so much an open world Monster Hunter. There's so many ways that you could make that interesting. Why have it just be quests? I don't know. Like, experiment a little bit. I don't know. I think when you've got a good system, don't fuck around with it. At least not too much, and they went too far. But it's a long subject to get on, isn't it? It's funny, desire was to only do one more hunt, but this is going to become more like 2 hunts in one, which is fine, whatever. It shouldn't be too late to make that call anyway. But it will likely be under 2 hours. I hope so, because otherwise that means this quest has gone on for way too long. Can I just say that I understand that I've not played very well with my gun lance here. Part of it is because I have been focused on chatting and not actually paying attention to what I'm doing. It just means that I do basic attacks rather than looking to maximize my damage with what I've got. And I'm maybe not taking opportunities as aggressively as I could be. But yeah, like, gun lance is not comfortable for me. Glavenus is mobile enough for me to feel ineffective, or less effective than I could be with the gun lance, because I feel like I'm constantly having to sheath it and then position myself. And then by the time I've unsheathed the fucking thing, he's out of range again, and I'm just having to constantly chase after him. I just feel like with the gun lance, you can't really do that much with it unless the monster is within your range for a while. That's the feeling that I get. Like, it needs to be within your range for a good 3 to 5 seconds. Glavenus at this stage is in my range for, you know, half a second to a second and a half, which is not enough to do anything with a gun lance. Nothing really meaningful. You know, I can get a shell off here and there, I can get maybe 2 pokes off with the lance, but that's not where your damage is with a gun lance. It's your heavy shot. It's your wyvern fire. It's, you know, lots of charged shells. It's your Dragon Blast Hunter art. All of these things require the monster to be in place, so... yeah, I don't know. I don't like Gunlance on mobile monsters, okay? There's probably a way to make it work, but I don't like the weapon type enough to really find that sweet spot, find that intricate strategy. So, yeah, fuck it. What are you doing? I am not going to do that heavy shot for the sake of my stamina. Oh, God, that was an excellent timing on that flinch. That was just impressive, to be honest. Excellent. Now that's an opportunity right there. Let me try and get a full combo out. Oh, no. I'll just end up on my hands and knees instead. Thanks, Longsword Larry. Longsword Popo. Because this is a normal shot type gunlance, which means that I should be doing my heavy shots whenever I have the opportunity. And I feel like I have been doing that, it's just my opportunities are not abundant. They are not constant. So... Dragon Blast is ready to go. I think this will be a 20-minute. This is feeling like that. What do I start off at in terms of sharpness? Is it? It is purple, so yeah, I should be sharpening up to purple once I hit blue every time. Let's try to get that Dragon Blast. I'd say that was basically a full Dragon Blast, which I'm happy to get. It was pretty much at the conclusion of the knockdown, but that's fine. I'd say there are actually more effective gun lances to be using here, but whatever. It's elemental, so it's fine. Of course, I should mention, when I complain about the mobility of Gunlance, yes, Blast Dash does alleviate a little bit of that, but it's still very, very opportunity focused. Like, you want to use Blast Dash when you know you can get the heavy shot off. But I'm not going to complain too much. I'm happy with the existence of Blast Dash. It actually addresses something about the Gunlance that I really don't like. So, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Wow. That's a pretty cool attack, though. You can't deny it. Dive or do something evasive. Fucking hell. Yeah, cooling effect is worn off. Definitely a... we're in it for the long haul here. This is a challenging hunt. I don't think anyone's using anything that's just cheesy and overly damaging. We're just using honest weapons, honest loadouts. and just getting through it with our skill as best we can. And it's making for a good hunt. You know, this is substantial, this is fun. I don't like doing Hellblade usually, but I've never even, in my wildest dreams, considered using a fucking gunlance in Hellblade G5, and consequently I've been given something interesting. Like, it's an experience that is engaging and kind of fun in a weird way. The reason why it's not entirely fun is because I don't like gunlance, okay? So part of me feels like I'm punishing myself, but as well as that, it's different enough where I'm enjoying it a little bit. I'm enjoying the aspect to the hunt where it feels pretty... It feels like we're all putting in effort, and when we succeed here, it will be because we've all pitched in. We've all done our best, and we slayed it together. It's got that feeling. It's that kind of hunt. And I like that. I don't think that blast shot would have... Or the shot of the blast dash, I don't think that would have actually done anything there. Oh, that's a safe attack. Alright. Am I in a bad situation? I'm actually going to keep my weapon out, recover my stamina. Oh my god. It's not good to be stuck behind a shield with a gun lance and not have any stamina. That sucks. And that's sort of what I was dealing with right there, but I got through it. It's because I focused on stamina recovery. I decided that it was safer to recover stamina with my weapon out than to sheath it and then not be able to dive, because I felt like there was an imminent attack. And there was. So I'd say I made the right decision there, strategically. And I am blasted, so I'm going to sheath and roll. Because if a G5 Glavenus hits me while I'm blasted, it's not going to be a good time. See, like, how am I supposed to get a full fucking combo out? Do I go for it here? Let's go for it here. Oh, no, I can do it, because it's a prolonged knockdown. I thought it was just him falling over, but he actually did a full knockdown animation as well, which was good. Well, maybe not a full one, but a partial one. So he fell over and also stayed on the ground for a little while. Should have used blast dash there, did not. It's my mistake. And well done, everyone. That was a good run. Crazy died, unfortunately, but we fucking cleared the quest. Felt like a solid hunt. Brilliant effort. Obviously, that's when you start to clench when you're 20 minutes in, and it's one death away from failure. That's a very Fatalis sort of experience. But, yeah, we got through it. There's nothing worse than failing 20 minutes in. Just gathered a fucking Palion. I feel like when it comes to in-quest acquisition of rare items, I seem to get them from shinies more than anything else. I could be wrong, maybe it's because I notice them more. But yeah, gather at your shinies, ladies and gentlemen. If you need, or gather your shinies. If you do need rare materials, don't decide, oh, I won't bother gathering that shiny because it's only 1% from the shiny. Guess what? That's still an extra 1% chance. Take it. If it's a rare chance, it's worth it. I've picked up a lot of rares from shinies in all Monster Hunter games. Has 2 Palliums in one hunt. Very good. I'm sure the shiny drop chance is pretty good from Hellblade as well. That's my guess. Alright, well that was an excellent run. Tal has tuned in at the end of the live stream. It's not his fault, it's early in the morning where he is, I think. So, yeah. I do thank you all for watching. That was a good way to finish things up. Thank you, Zombie, for hunting, as usual. And thank you all for being here to enjoy the hunting experience. One of the better recordings of Generations Ultimate in recent months. I will see you all next time, and I hope you have a good week between now and when you next see me. Bye bye for now.